Hey, everyone. Good to have you here. Happy to be back doing my Thursday live trainings for you. And I'm Coach Katie Collins, and I work with coaches, healers, and online experts, helping them really tie together all of their amazing pieces that they can offer into an irresistible package that sells. My goal with anyone who works with me is that they double their income in the year that we work together. So today I wanted to touch upon some hot tips that I believe will help you maintain your mindset for success. Because we all know if we think we're going to fail, then we fail, right? Like when I was learning how to snowboard, and every time I went to make a turn, what went through my head was, oh my God, I think I'm going to fall. And then, oh, I fell. Right? So we really need to believe 100% in ourselves and in what we're doing. And so I brought to you 5 hot tips to make sure that you're in check with your mindset as you're moving forward in your business in 2020. So tip number 1, and I got notes over here, so I'm going to keep turning my head for a minute. The number 1 thing that's preventing you from creating the success that you want are the stories and the beliefs that you're holding on to. So what do I mean by that? There may be stories from your past career, from a former church you belonged to, from a family, or maybe just a particular family member, even growing up with somebody who says, I can't afford it, or we can't afford it. Creates a belief system in you that you can't get everything you want. If you have a belief that nobody buys any coaching, healing stuff, business-related stuff in the month of December, if that's your belief, then all of your actions and the way you show up in December is very different than if you expect to make even more sales in December because it's the end of the year and people are already gearing up for the next year and they're lining up and planning already, right? So those are just 2 different beliefs that the expert shows up in a very different way depending on the belief you hold of whether or not people buy in December. So if you've got any sort of money stories or trauma related to finances, you'll find that gets in your way of sales. And the reason that is because if you have a hard time spending thousands of dollars or $1,000, right? If that's oh, that's so much money, it's really hard to sell that when you feel that way, right? Even on the outside, you're like, oh, here's the value and here are the benefits and the features. And, it's such a good deal. It's a steal of a deal. If deep down you're feeling like, I probably wouldn't buy this right now, then it's very hard to sell it. So the number 1 thing that's getting in your way of your sales goals is the stories and the beliefs that you continue to carry. And so what do you do about that? Okay, so the first thing is you've got to get really clear of what is going on up here. You've got to write it down. So one of the things I like my clients to do when they get stuck, if they are not taking action on whatever thing I've suggested that they do, we get back 2 weeks later and they're like, oh, I didn't do that. So I always ask, okay, so what comes up for you when you think about doing that task, whether it's picking up the phone and doing a follow-up or, getting in and listening to my recorded content so they can figure out how to do, their offer, right? What comes up? So for example, if somebody has a story around time, then what comes up for them is, oh, that's going to take so much time. I'll do it later. I'll do it tomorrow. I don't have much time now, right? And so then it doesn't get done. And then it doesn't get done the next day. And then it doesn't get done the next day. And then what also happens is now you've lost integrity with yourself because you said you were going to do something and you didn't do it. And imagine if you showed up that way for your clients. right? Or for potential clients, if you had a potential client and you booked them, to have a conversation tomorrow, Friday, and then on Friday you were like, I don't really feel like it. I'm kind of in a weird space. I have weird energy. I'm just going to blow it off and I'll call her next week and reschedule. Well, guess what? You lost the sale. No one wants to do business with somebody that acts that way, right? So, and you know that. So you would show up for that call. I would hope you would show up for that call no matter what. And I want you to start treating your to-do list the same way. Do the things on your to-do list. Keep your self-integrity and start believing that you are a person with self-integrity. You are a person that gets things done. You are a person that takes action on things that scare you. Those are stories as well, right? Those are beliefs and stories that are going to get you in the right direction. But if you keep saying, oh, I have I have a bad sense of time. I'm always late. Oh, I'm so disorganized. I have 3 different calendars. I double book myself all the time. If you're like, I keep booking coffee dates and I don't have time to do anything else, like you're not managing your time and you're repeating that story through the actions and the behaviors that you're displaying, right? So if that were you, then I would say we've got to come up with a new belief, a new way of being that's organized, timely, efficient. And those are the things that you would write at the top of your paper of what you're going to do today. Today, I am on time for everything I need. I have all the time I need for everything on my to-do list. Today I am efficient. I am not distracted. My phone is in my other room and I'm going to get this stuff done. So stories and beliefs can really make or break what you're doing and your day. And so it's like stories and beliefs about your behavior and your habits, as well as stories and beliefs about, how you're showing up and what you're expecting. So your stories and beliefs are the number one thing that's getting in your way of the success that you desire. Okay, so number 2, another little mindset shift I want you to have is that you can never outperform your limiting beliefs. You can never outperform your limiting beliefs. So what do I mean by that? If you think you can only earn 10, 20% higher than you earned last year, if that felt like a good growth strategy for you, then you're not going to earn more than that. You have to believe that it's possible for you to earn more before you can earn more, right? So so one of the emails I sent out this week was like, you've got to stretch yourself. If you're setting goals based on only what you think you can do, you're not stretching yourself enough. You're basing your goals on your history instead of your potential, right? So I really want you to understand that whatever limiting beliefs you're having right now or that you're feeding into, the success you desire cannot trump that. So you've got to notice the limiting beliefs and continue working on them so that you're getting rid of that stuff and that there's this flow of possibility for you instead of, well, it hasn't happened before. Or if you look at my bank account, I haven't been able to do that yet. So what? Right? When you were a baby, you weren't able to walk yet. And then one day you started trying, and then another day, you got up and started walking, right? So it's like, just because you haven't created it yet doesn't mean it's impossible unless you believe it is impossible. So you can never outperform the mindset that you have, your limiting beliefs. Okay, next one. You cannot be grateful or fearful at the same time, right? You cannot be grateful or fearful at the same time. So when you feel the fear coming up, how might you be able to replace that with gratitude, right? Focused on what is working, what feels amazing, what are you so proud of? And so it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared, I'm going to do this Facebook Live and Oh gosh, what if no one shows up, or what if no one comments, or what if I don't know what to say, or what if I screw up, or what if I smile with lipstick on my teeth, which I've done before. Right? All these like kind of fears or whatever. And so when that comes up, it's like, you know what? I am so grateful to know that I know people will watch. And I'm so grateful to have learned what I've learned and be able to share what I'm sharing. And I'm really grateful for the people that need it, because I know they're going to tune into it. And they're probably going to message me privately, because they can be private people and they don't necessarily want to comment about negative things about their business in a public space, but they feel comfortable emailing me, right? So, I'm so grateful that they feel comfortable to connect with me on any level, not just leaving comments. So it's just this practice of, I'm noticing some fear, and fear is not a bad thing, but it can stop us. So if I'm noticing some fear and yet I need to move forward with whatever I'm working on, then I can find gratitude in whatever is going on. And that lets me release the feeling of fear so that I can move forward. Okay, so that was number 3. You can't be grateful and fearful at the same time. Number 4, in terms of your mindset for success, is it's really about forgiveness. So forgiveness is releasing yourself from being a victim and stepping into your power. So I think this one's really important. I'm going to say it again. Forgiveness is releasing yourself from being a victim and stepping into your power. So I thought this one was so important because I talk to a lot of people that they've signed up for coaching in the past, or they did a group program because it was less expensive than doing one-on-one. And then they got pretty bummed out that they didn't get the results that they were seeking. And that is, it's easy to blame the person you worked with instead of taking some personal responsibilities yourself. Right? Like, who were you not being when you were in that program or when you bought it, right? Like, maybe you didn't make a good buyer decision. Maybe you listened to the results that they were promising, but you didn't actually look at the features of the program. And so you didn't realize that it wasn't a good program set up for you, right? Maybe you're somebody that likes to learn in person and you bought an online program, or vice versa. Okay, so sometimes we weren't the best buyer. Sometimes we bought into a program or a system with a person that we didn't really know and we didn't really follow. And then come to find out later, they're using tactics and strategies that we feel aren't aligned with who we are. So there are a lot of things that happen. My point being, we need to release and forgive, whether it's forgiving the person, maybe they let you down, maybe they didn't show up, or maybe their content was crappy or whatever. And so it's like this forgiveness of them and for being imperfect, as we all are as humans, and forgiving yourself for perhaps not showing up as powerfully as you could have in the program, forgiving yourself for maybe not making a great buyer's decision. Because let me tell you, ladies, if you don't forgive, it is like a poison is in your mindset forever. And when you're moving forward in business, it makes you very hard and, like, I hate the phrase gun shy, but that's the best phrase I can think of at this moment. It makes you very nervous to sign up with somebody again, and you hold yourself back because of it. Because I don't know about you, but when I am not working with another professional on my goals, on my accountability, and on my ideas and strategy, I move very slowly. I've got accountability partners. I've got business besties. We can have Zoom meetings all the time. And I'm really grateful for all of that. But when I'm working with a coach, I exponentially move. I'm very directed and focused, and I know what's going on. So a lot of you have heard my story. The first, big program that I had invested in did let me down, and it wasn't a good fit for me. There were certain elements of the support staff that let me down or just did not vibe with me and how they handled questions of mine. They made me feel a little dumb. I know nobody can make you feel a certain way, but that was the experience that I had. And then it was just extremely expensive for what I got. And in reality, I wasn't ready for it. And I wished they had told me that, but they made the money more important than where I really was. And so for a long time, I was like, I remember the person who sold me it, and I would hold it kind of against her, like she should have said, no, you're not a good fit for that. And you should back up and do this first. And I remember moving into a new community and signing up for yet another thing that was, $15,000 more, and I'd already spent $25,000. It was really scary for a school teacher making, 50 grand a year. These were huge decisions. But that person, the new mentor, had said to me, you really got to do some release work around that other company. You can't bring that into your business. And so I really feel like I've released it. I actually did try to clean it up and contacted them to give them feedback on what I really felt like that cheated me. And even the way they handled that was not the way I would have handled it, nor any company I've ever helped out and worked at would have handled it in a much more heart-centered way. And it just reminded me we're not a match. Their business policies and practices and team are not a match for my energy. And it was a very clear, thank you so much. This door is closed. I'll never give you another dollar, and I'll never waste any more time on this, right? Like, it's over, it's done, it's complete. So it's like I learned from it, but I had to release the resentment that I was feeling and continue to invest in myself in these big ways, because if I didn't, I would still be stuck trying to sell a program that I didn't even really like just to make my money back, because I spent about a year in that place. And in order to get out of that place, I had to release and forgive and let go. So, okay, so that is just a quick story for you, but just thinking about what are some things that you're still kind of like niggling about and feeling frustrated about. And how can you release and let go, right? And forgive. Okay. And just to say, because the last part of that was not only forgiveness, but truly stepping into your power. And I think that whole experience for me was the permission to say, I have gifts and talents, and I have personality type. And I'm not going to make myself wrong for not fitting in somewhere, right? Like, I felt very empowered to say, now I know what kind of community I don't want to be a part of. And I know the kind of people I don't want to spend my time with, because it's just not, they're just not my people. Lovely, lovely folks, but not my community. And so stepping into a new community, where they became like my best friends for the next 5 years, and my family, was so empowering to me to see that there were groups of people out there that were a better match, right? So again, like, releasing and forgiving just increases your empowerment to say, I can make good decisions. And even if I didn't, I can make it a lesson, right? And I can take the learning from that and move forward and let it go. Okay. Number 5, last tip for your success mindset, maintaining a success mindset. There is a direct relationship between your amount of effort and your results. So I know you're going to hear that and go, yeah, Katie, no duh, right? Like, okay, we learned that in school. Study for a test, you do well. Don't study for a test, you won't do as well, or you may even fail, right? Except for some of you that are, just smart without studying. It's like what you put in is what you get out. And this is so true energetically. There were times when I would have like just, dips of not being very happy, and it had nothing to do with my business. My business is doing great, but maybe in my personal life, things were, like blowing up, right? In some way. And I would like try to escape it. And I watched a lot of TV. And, I live alone. And so I think I kind of like the background noise or whatever. But I would sometimes, decide, oh, I'm going to eat breakfast. I'll finish up the show that I didn't finish when I was, before I went to bed. Or like at lunch, like, oh, cool, let me, look at what I can watch, whatever. So all of a sudden I was watching TV for breakfast, for lunch, and for dinner, and on the way to bed, right? Like a little bit in my bed. And finally I had to have like a self-intervention, like, you're watching way too much TV. You should be reading, meditating, picking oracle cards, journaling, right? Like, so what was happening was I wasn't leaving any room for like spirit and energy and prayer and putting myself on a vibrational match for the clients that I wanted to attract. I was like avoiding everything. So I've really found the more effort I put into myself and to my morning routine and how I want to spend my days and how much I want to limit my TV and, replace like 50% of that with books, right? And podcasts, and get back into the notion of walking my dog and listening to an audiobook, making sure that I'm listening to fiction and nonfiction so that I don't feel like I'm working all the time. So that was part of the TV. I was trying to balance work and pleasure. But it's all about the energy and the effort that you're putting forth. So I talk to a lot of people that are fairly new to really try to make money online. And it takes strategy. You've got to show up and do Facebook Lives and consistently post and get people to your blog or to your website or to your Facebook group or whatever you want to do. You've got to be giving them calls to action. And it's not just when you're launching something. So I'll see people pop into the Entrepreneur Sisterhood group, and they're only popping in there when they're launching something, and then they disappear until they're going to launch something else, 8 weeks later. It's fine. I totally get promotion, but the women in that group don't know you because you're not participating in the group. You're not cheering anybody on. You're not celebrating someone's success. You're not popping in there to answer questions or pose your own and be vulnerable, right? You're only promoting. And so when people say to me, oh, I don't get much from that, or, I'm not getting anything from that, I'm like, well, how much effort are you putting in? Because I would call that 5%. You're putting in 5% effort. You're popping into a group once every 8 weeks, and you're putting in something in the promo thread, and you're like, oh, that didn't work. Right? So it's like the amount of effort you put into something is the amount of the heightened results that you're going to get. And so just remind yourself when you're saying, oh, this isn't working, I would put a mirror up and go, where am I not working? Literally. What am I blowing off? What am I not doing consistently that's kind of stopping the flow of running my business? And that's where you need to get back in and say, okay, I'm going to be more consistent with that, because if I expect these results, I've got to show up 100%, not 5%, not 50%, 100% of whatever strategy you choose. If you're not an online marketer, then, online strategies probably don't matter to you, but booking speaking gigs does. Instead of waiting for speaking gigs to come across your screen or posting in groups saying, I'm looking for gigs, which there's nothing wrong with. It's great if that's one of your techniques to finding a gig. But is that your only technique? If it's your only technique, you're putting 5% effort into an action that could bring you 50% of your profit in 2020. So just like give it to you that way, right? It's like, where are your leads going to come from this year? And if they're going to come from speaking gigs, or if they're going to come from online, or whatever your situation is, your effort should match the number of clients you expect to get from that. If it's referral sources, then building relationships should be a big deal for you. If it's online, then being online, networking online, being visible online, right? It's not a 5% or 50% exercise. It's more consistent than that. So just choose your own adventure, but be consistent and make sure that you're putting in the work. Because if entrepreneurship was so easy, everybody would be doing it. It's not easy, right? We all have ups and down months. And so it's like when you're in a spot where you're not making much money and you're like, nothing's working, like take a day off and like really assess, where are you spending your time and how has that supported you? Right? So, like, I just went to a networking meeting today for my first time in probably 6 months. I have not been to that group. And I just got to a place where I was like, this is not what I want to be doing. I don't want to spend my time face to face networking. I'm more in the online space. My people are more in the online space, and that's where I want to be. Right? So I just took a hard look at that. And then recently I'm like, hey, I might go back to doing a little bit more speaking gigs and doing online, where last year I was like 100% online. Right? So you have to assess, what have you been doing? Has it been working? And if not, is there something you need to tweak about you? Is it the time and the effort you have to put in? Or is it the belief system, or, your mindset, or the people you're hanging out with that aren't supporting you? But, anytime something's not working, assess why and make some changes. And sometimes that does require to take a day or 2 or 3 off and give some real thought and planning instead of reacting all year long. Because if you're in the reactionary mode, you're going to make as much money as you made last year. If you want to make more money this year, then you have to adopt a success mindset, and that includes success habits that are going to get you there. So I'm going to end on that note. Let me know in the comments below which tip most resonated with you. I'll repeat them just in case I see some of you guys popped on a little bit late, which is awesome. I can't see who it is, but I can see I've got some people here. So the first one was, the number one thing preventing you from creating what you want are your stories and your beliefs. Number 2 was, you can never outperform your limiting beliefs. Number 3, you cannot be grateful and fearful at the same time. Number 4, forgiveness is releasing yourself from being a victim and stepping into your power. And then number 5, there's a direct relationship between your amount of effort and your results. All right, ladies, so that is what I've got for you today. Let me know in the comments or send me a PM if you'd rather, which one resonated with you the most. And if you would like my support this year in maintaining that success mindset and really creating a plan where you can double your income, I would love to chat with you and see if it would be a good fit for us to have a working relationship and help you get there, because I have a good sense of how to swiftly kick you in the butt while also holding your hand and being gentle and, giving you the structure that so many people often need and don't have to be the successful business person that you want to be. So I primarily help coaches, healers, and online experts. But if you are attracted to what I'm talking about and you want to know more about me and how I might be able to help you, email me and let's book a time to connect. All right, that's it for today. Have an amazing Thursday, and I will see you here next week. Bye.